All right, I think we're live here. Hello. Okay, then just waiting for your request. Hello, Mary. Go live with Black Diamond. Hello. Good afternoon, Phyllisa. I'm so excited to have you here.
I am excited to be here. Can you hear me well?
Yes, how about me? Can you hear and see me well as well? Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I just really wanted to share your story with our audience. I know that you've been really vocal about your experience all the time, of course, because that's really your mission, but especially this month. And I want to be sensitive to the fact that it's difficult stuff to talk about. So yeah, I'll lend the stage to you and you can take us through.
Okay, so this month is extra special for me because on February 15th, I was diagnosed with diabetes. And as I recently shared on a post, Valentine's Day, the night is always tough for me because that was the night that I passed out in my bathtub for an unknown amount of time. And so it was the next day, February 15th, when I returned to the doctor to inform the doctor that whatever the regimen was before, which was drink Gatorade, that did not help me. It exacerbated my symptoms. And so when I went to the doctor on February 15th, a week later, it was then that my blood sugar wouldn't register on the glucometer. And it just said hi. And it wasn't like, hey, girl. It was like, we have a problem. And unfortunately, at that point, I had a little bit of distrust in the medical care that I had received. And a coworker drove me to the hospital. It was there at the hospital that I was informed that I had diabetes. That was the first time I had heard the word. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know anyone who had had diabetes. And I remained there for 6 days. At the time, they didn't know what type I had. So I got pamphlets for like both types of diabetes.
So confusing.
And I didn't feel like I could identify with either one of them because one pamphlet was full of young children. I was 31 at the time. And then the other one was filled with faces of senior citizens. While I pray to God I get to live to be a senior citizen, clearly at 31, I'm not. And I didn't get much education when I was there. And then the night I was discharged from the hospital, I received insulin without needles. I received a glucometer without strips.
You're just like, what do I do with this stuff?
I was like, what am I going to do now? So my journey to getting proper diabetes care has been one of struggles. Because even though I eventually was diagnosed with diabetes, I lived 8 years with the wrong diagnosis. So in 2019, I had noticed my A1C just kept going up, but I was exercising more and I was eating more strict diet. This is what they tell people who are diagnosed with type 2. Change your diet, exercise, and then like all is right with the world. But I have been doing those things. Fortunately, I always check my blood sugar a lot. And I'm not exactly sure if our community knows, but people with type 2 aren't really given the tools to test their blood sugar a lot. Many insurances only cover 50 strips a month. So I always had to supplement out of my own pocket. I have had more than one healthcare provider tell me when I was diagnosed with type 2 that I check my blood sugar too much. Yes.
What? How can you be too informed?
This is what I've been told. And I attribute me testing my blood sugar regularly to being able to recognize that something was wrong.
Yeah.
That my blood sugar is going up. When I would go to the gym, an hour or 45 minutes of cardio would make my blood sugar go down. That stopped happening. So I inquired about antibody testing. I was denied antibody testing multiple times by a couple of endocrinologists. And in 2019, the summer, after doing my 40th 5K, I got really sick. I went into DKA again, lost a massive amount of weight, was vomiting in public at a diabetes conference. And so I went to my gynecologist and I asked my gynecologist to test me for type 1 antibodies, which she did, even though she acknowledged that that wasn't her area of expertise. The test results came back 10 days later through the roof. She told me that I needed to take those results to my endocrinologist, which I did. And then my endocrinologist proceeded to freak out. She did apologize for not testing me for the year that I had been asking every time I saw her. And I was told to immediately stop taking all the oral medications she gave me and to come and get insulin. And I'm going to tell you something. My level of care changed in that moment. And it's still something that bothers me, but literally I was walked to the diabetes educator. I could not leave that office until I understood diabetes. Now, what did you remember? I just told you when I was first diagnosed.
You got
I
two
was given a
pamphlets.
bag with insulin and no needles, and I was given a glucometer with no strips, just discharged out of the hospital. Nobody cared what I knew or didn't know or anything. But when I was correctly diagnosed with type 1, it was like the red carpet had rolled out, and then I'm getting better care. And this is very unfortunate.
Yeah. What do you think the root of that is? I mean, it's just so frustrating that you have to have scientific evidence because you're so committed to your own health that you're testing more regularly than you need to be. And it takes basically a scientific experiment on your own body to convince your doctor, your endocrinologist, that you need an antibody test. Like what kind of stereotypes lead to that denial?
I think there was definitely ageism involved because I was 31 years old. And I think when the myth that is perpetuated is that people with type 1 are like teens and kids, then they aren't doing antibody testing on a 31-year-old.
Yeah.
I also think race has a lot to do with it. As a Black woman, when we hear T1D, we have an image of a white person. And so it's like, oh, you're a Black person with T1D? Then I also think my body weight. I'm an obese Black woman. And it's like, oh, fat, Black, an adult must be type 2.
Yeah.
And for me, it's hard enough to accept those kinds of things when I'm initially diagnosed. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But it becomes a crime. It becomes an incident that raises anger when I ask.
Yeah.
See, when I was first diagnosed, I knew nothing about antibody testing. I knew nothing about testing my C-peptide levels to see how much insulin I'm producing. I'm only going by what my healthcare providers are doing.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. You thought I was 31, so I couldn't have T1D. You thought I was obese, so I couldn't get T1D. You thought I was Black, so I couldn't get T1D. But I asked for an entire year, more than one endocrinologist. And here's the kicker. So I was giving a workshop in Dubai. in a room full of physicians from the MENA region, Middle East, North Africa. And in that speech, I told my diagnosis story. Like I'm telling you all, I was feeling tired. I was feeling fatigued. I was peeing a lot. I had a chronic yeast infection. And this is important because a lot of people don't want to talk about our sexual health and our sexual organs and things like that. But having a chronic yeast infection comes from like all that blood sugar, high blood sugar, and peeing a lot. I was losing my vision. I am a professor, and given a lecture, I would say like these weird things. So I teach African American literature, and I know that Emancipation Proclamation was signed January 1st, 1865. Like I know this. Yeah. But in class, I would say like the Emancipation Proclamation was signed like February 12th, 1924. And I was like, what the heck? And I would say like, no, class, that's like incorrect. So my cognitive skills, were being impacted. So I had all of this. And I'm like, something is wrong with me. And that first doctor never checked my blood sugar. Never checked my blood sugar. And now that I know, it takes 30 seconds. Yeah. Like I had severely elevated blood sugar at that point in time. And so I shared this story, and it was physicians from Morocco, Tunisia. They say, I'm listening to your diagnosis story, and it sounds to me like you have LADA, latent autoimmune diabetes in adults. Have you been tested for type 1 antibodies? This is what they say. They only hear my story. Unlike my endocrinologist, yeah, whom I've been asking, and they're looking at my charts, and they're saying no. So I started being more aggressive about asking after the physicians that I shared my story with told me. One lady specifically said, you need to find out and don't stop until you get the answer. And her words, don't stop until you get the answer, is what made me keep on asking, even though I was denied and denied and denied again and again. And my heart just goes out to anyone that doesn't know. Yeah. And anyone who's denied and then they stop. Because I actually asked in January 2018, and when I was told no, I stopped. I didn't ask anymore. Yeah. Until these endocrinologists from the MENA region was like, no, it doesn't sound right. And don't stop until you get the answer. So I had technically been asking for more than a year, but a year every time I saw, every 3 months. Yeah.
And I'm sure, I know that experience led into what you're doing now and what the resources that you're providing people now. I know recently you're doing kind of almost like qualitative style of people sharing their experiences. How has that been going for you? And what are some parts of other people's stories that really just kind of resonate with you?
Well, what I can say is that I'm saddened to hear that my story is not all that unique. Yeah. It would be a blessing for me to know that I'm like a unicorn. Yeah. Right? Like I'm the one person that, the health industry just forgot. Like it just happened to be me. But that's not what I'm finding. And it is just so sad. Just this week, a woman heard my story, and she and I have been communicating on Instagram for a while. Mm-hmm. But just this week, she told me, she said, I have LADA. And when we started talking last year, I told her what to get tested for. I was like, ask for type 1 antibodies, because she was 29 years old, had experienced DKA, only person in her family with diabetes, just like me. And all I could say is, I was like, you sound like me. Yeah. But I don't want you to be misdiagnosed for 8 long years like me. And she just told me just this week. So if there is anything I can do by sharing my story, by letting people know what tests they should ask for, or even to ask. I mean, when I think about it, they just told me, okay, you have type 2 diabetes. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I never questioned it. I'm thinking, all this blood you're taking from me, you know, like clearly you have gotten everything you need to give me the proper diagnosis. Unfortunately, that was not the care. And over the past 8 years, I have been living in 2 countries. So I saw endocrinologists in 2 different countries. And that was still the case. So I'm enjoying telling my story and telling the stories of other people, because people should not just say, because you're obese, you can't have T1D, or, you know, because you're Black, or because you're 31, or you're 65, or like whatever. Like, there's nothing wrong with T1D, T2D. No. You just need to know what you have. That is my thing. Like, just tell me what I really have so we can properly treat it.
And we think doctors are, I mean, they are an authority, obviously, because they go to school, obviously, and know so much more than you. So you're in a position where you find this person as an authority, but we don't remember that doctors are humans too. Doctors have biases too. They might not realize that they're participating in ageism or racism or sexism, but we're human. It happens. There's thought processes and frameworks of mind that have been ingrained in our society for so long that we're not even aware sometimes. And it's amazing that you're empowering other people to share their story, because it takes a lot of courage to be someone like you, to be the one that starts telling their story. And it's, as we were talking earlier, when you have other people around you, and a support system, it's so much easier to be vocal. And it's so wonderful that you're providing people with that community. And just kind of watching you online the past like year and a half, 2 years has been lovely. I really love what you're doing. And I love your Genteel review. I will say that. I remember when I first saw that review, I think you had done it maybe a couple years ago. At that point, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So it was old when I saw it. But I was just sitting there laughing along with you. You were calling like Genteel a Hulk, and then it was a gentle giant. So I would love for you to share a little bit of your experience with Genteel and why you love it.
So yeah, that's one of my favorite product reviews is the Genteel, because I remember reading about it from somewhere. And, you know, when you have diabetes and you're pricking your fingers a lot, you've tried every lancet under the sun. Yeah. You've tried to reduce the dial. You know, you're like, 5 is killing me. Ow, let me go down to 2. And then you don't get enough blood with the 2. And so you're trying to like figure out, is 3 good enough? Like, it's just, the lancet device is kind of just horrible in that sense. And so when I read about the Genteel device, I was like, I'd like to try that. Yeah. So I actually reached out to Genteel and I said, hey, I'm a diabetes global advocate. I'm a lifestyle blogger for diabetes. I'd love to do a product review of the Genteel. So when I received it, this was it. And I was like, whoa, that thing is big, right? So like in the review, that's what I'm like, oh, this thing is big. And then it's like Shrek. And then it's like, oh, it's like Shrek, right? Like everybody loves Shrek.
Exactly. So he's a softie at heart.
Exactly. He is a softie. So I have to say I was skeptical. You know, you don't really hear this on the review, but since I'm live, I'm just gonna tell you. Yeah. When I got it, I was like, I don't know about this thing because it is big. And I mean, I've gone through a bunch of Lancet devices, right? Like, is this really gonna make it easier? And so I tried it and I was really surprised. I think I captured my live expression, which I tend to do. I tend to just turn the camera on and be like, here we go. So it really was gentle. And over the years, like you said, I've done this review for a long time. So the fact that I have this, even now speaks volumes. Because I
It's
have
not lost
tried
in a
a
purse
lot of,
somewhere.
yeah, I've tried a lot of new diabetes gadgets over the
Yeah.
years. And I have a box of where they will all go into someone's archive one day.
Yeah.
And so I have to say, like with this, I do like it. And I carry it with me. This is truly the only Lancing device that I actually use when I prick my finger. And yeah, I just, if my thing is, if there are two things I could change about it, it'd be the size, make it a little bit smaller when you want
Yeah.
to wear your clutch purse.
Yeah.
And then of course economical price point.
Yeah.
But it lasts a long time. And that's the thing, right? Like I've had this thing for years. So when I think
Yeah.
about all the other Lancing devices I've used, this is it. And
Yeah.
remember at the time, like I said, I was checking my blood sugar all the time.
Yeah.
And just with that constant like checking of the blood sugar, something more gentle on your fingers definitely it's helpful.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people know about it, I have to say. Like when I'm at conferences and things like that, and I pull out this thing and I'm like, what's that? And
What
I was
is
like,
that
oh,
thing?
you don't know about. So I do talk about it quite a bit.
Oh, lovely.
And I have enjoyed it, I have to say. And I'm the kind of person that I do a lot of product reviews.
Yeah.
And if I don't like something, you'll never ever see a video of it, because
Yeah.
I don't want to talk horrible about people's products. So if I don't have
Yeah.
anything good to say, I just don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
And so like you have a couple of questions popping
Yep.
up, I see
Are the
there.
Lancet refills expensive too, or just an expensive initial cost? So the Lancet refills are $9 for 100 in a box, and we sell them in 3 packs. That's a little bit of a better deal. But you can also, with the Genteel Plus, use any standard Lancet that has a square shaft. So if your insurance already covers a square shaft Lancet, you can go ahead and use those. But yeah, I mean, and speaking of costs, I mean, diabetes costs is a whole nother topic. And something that Genteel is very aware of and cognizant of. As I've shared with you before, we are always trying to move forward in the direction of accessibility. I don't know if some of you who are watching know, but Genteel used to be, I think, $129.99, and then it was $99, and now we've brought it down to $69, and we continue to be able to move in that direction because we believe everyone deserves a comfortable blood check, especially people who are checking every day. Even if you have a CGM or whatever it may be, there are times where you might have a sensor error. There are times where, if there's a warm-up period. So yeah, we want to be able to provide everyone with that. And I really appreciate your honesty. I don't love it when people are just like, yeah, it's great. I'm like, okay, but how could it be better? I want to know because, we're all about innovation and technology and bettering diabetes management and bettering health outcomes in general.
Yeah,
So
I think that would be it for me. It would be maybe somehow smaller
yeah,
for clutches, even though I just carry a big purse. And
yeah,
see, I carry juice with me. I got my I got sugar-free candy on top of next to the candy with the
yeah.
sugar. My purse is big,
You
so it
have a whole
always fits
thing.
in my purse, but I do know the size
Yeah,
and then the price point. And when I got it, it was the 129.
yeah,
So I definitely know like members of my family was like,
that's a lot.
okay, that
Yeah.
works for you. Can I borrow yours?
Yeah, exactly. Can you DM Genteel again for me now? I'll become a lifestyle blogger.
So the
But
$69 is a lot better than
yeah,
the 129. But I also think it's just helpful for people to know what it is,
yeah,
because if you're going to make that kind of investment into something, like it better do what it says. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like it
yeah,
just better do what it says. And I have to say, it does that for me. Now the only issue, and this has nothing to do with Genteel, it has everything to do with me and everybody else who's living with diabetes. is when you don't change your Lancet, it's still
Oh,
gonna hurt you.
yeah. I mean, the Lancet can become pretty dull, so it might kind of feel like you're poking with a twig instead of a needle.
Exactly. So you have to change your Lancet. And so yeah,
Yeah.
I thank you for this opportunity to share my story and to talk, because I think that the more people hear of other people's stories, um, the world just becomes a better place. The more we know that some people are being discharged from the hospital with incomplete bags and incomplete, information. I think about this sometimes. There's this old school movie called Soul Food. And in that movie, the matriarch, her name's Big Mama.
Mm-hmm.
The matriarch is seen in that movie reaching over the stove and getting burned. And eventually she dies from complications of diabetes. But her children are saying, like, did you take your insulin, mom? You're not listening to what the doctor says, this and that and the other. And it's a film, right? So this message is what goes into our public knowledge about diabetes.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of talk about what we are knowing, right? What information did that doctor give Big Mama so that Big Mama knows that her herbs and turpentine, because that's what she says, that's okay. I got my salve, my turpentine, my herb, like,
Yeah.
but what information was given to Big Mama
Yeah.
to help her manage her diabetes? Because I'm gonna tell you, I was discharged with I was like, I don't know. I just don't want to die like Big Mama. That was it. Like I didn't have the tools.
Yeah.
And so I just dedicate my life to making people aware of things that I did not know exist. And I'm from Florida, from South Florida, Fort Lauderdale area, a town called Pompano Beach. And when I go home to visit my family, many of us are below the digital divide.
Yeah.
So we don't know about Genteel. We don't know about insulin pumps. We don't know about CGMs.
Yeah.
And if I can take that information, that given my personal privilege, given my educational background as a professor with a PhD who can understand and dissect scientific jargon,
Yeah.
and I take that and I give that back to my people, I'm able to say, if you eat like Big Mom, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with soul food. There's nothing wrong with your cultural foods and how you eat it. But here we got to understand the carb counts. Because
Yeah.
what nutritionist is telling Big Mama how many carbs are in some Hoppin' John, some rice and peas? Did
Yeah.
they take the time to explain to her? Did they show her a plate like this is an appropriate portion? Probably not. Because when I go to the nutritionist, they're showing me foods that honestly I'm not really familiar with.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe my grandmother cooked asparagus once a year. You know what I'm saying? I have no idea. But I just know that's not a vegetable I grew up eating.
Yeah.
But when I go to the nutritionist, you know what's on the plate? Asparagus. Oh, quick. And ma'am, I don't know how to cook asparagus. I don't know how to tell when it's done, not done. Do you eat it raw? Do you dip it in sauce? Like, what is this? Like,
Yeah.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
But now you show me some collard greens. You show me some kale greens. You show me some string beans. You see, now if I can fix my plate like that, show me some callaloo, show me some salt fish. You know what I'm
All
saying?
stuff
So
that
some kebabs and this, then okay. Then now we are getting to the place where all of our big mamas can live a long time because they understand the information. And so that's why I created Black Diabetic Info. It was actually a year after my diagnosis because I spent a year just looking and trying to find information that was culturally relevant to me. Um, Like, for example, even saying something like, you can have a snack in between your meals. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what is a snack?
Yeah.
You know? And then they're like, you can have an apple. Okay, but I got 2 mango trees in my backyard.
Yeah.
Is a mango tree okay? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you have to reach people where they are, because
Yeah.
I can guarantee you in a couple months, my mom already called and told me the mangoes are starting to bud on the tree. But in a couple of months, I can guarantee you that I'm going to eat mangoes because they fall off the tree in my backyard before I go get in the car, burn up gas, drive to a grocery store to get an apple or an orange or a
Yeah.
banana.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
But I've never been asked that. I've never been asked, what fruit do you have access to? What fruit do you enjoy eating?
Yeah.
Because see, eating all those mangoes, that's a family ritual. We spread out newspaper on the floor.
Yeah. Making me hungry.
we pick which one you want. I want the third one up there. We're throwing stuff in the tree. You know, like, this is native to Floridians,
Yeah.
right? So you have to figure out what happens where people are culturally.
Yeah.
Now, when I lived in New York, there were no mango trees, right?
Yeah.
Boston, you got apple trees and things like that. When I lived in Abu Dhabi, you know what we have? Dates.
What? Oh, yeah.
Dates are plentiful.
Yeah.
So of course you're going to eat dates before you go to the grocery store. Teach me how to eat these dates, because in my yard there's a date tree and I'm going to eat them.
I love that. I mean, and it's tough because I feel like some educators or nutritionists feel like because they don't have the knowledge of someone else's cuisine that they can't step in and help them. But just the opposite, ask. Like you said, there's nothing wrong with asking and learning. And then as an educator, that makes you a better educator because now you know more and now you can help more people. So yeah, it's super important. I mean, this is life-changing information that you're giving people, life or death information.
Yeah.
And people shouldn't be on the brink of death to get the right diagnosis, when all you got to do is be curious and ask the questions, listen to people's stories, and that's how we can have empathy in this world. You can't have empathy if you don't know what other people are going through. So thank you
Yeah,
for sharing.
I agree. You're welcome. And I love traveling. I've been to 22 countries. And I could say in Shanghai, I was served curry frog.
Yeah.
You know, just poor little Kermit was swimming in the green curry juice. So I was like, all right. You know, and then in Thailand, some pad thai right on the street in Bangkok. You know, and Sweden, they served grasshoppers.
Yeah.
And it's in those times when I say to myself and to my host, because they're all waiting for you to partake,
Yeah.
I have an app that tells me the carb counts of foods. And unfortunately, the curry frog and the grasshoppers are not in here. So it will mess me up a little bit.
You can't seem to find grasshopper in my Fitness Pal.
No, but I can't say I did eat the grasshopper waffles. I just had to experience
Grasshopper
that.
waffles.
Mhm.
Was it crunchy?
Yeah, it was. But people were topping them with ants, and that I couldn't do.
That's
I
very
had
creative.
I don't know how many ants will equal 15 grams of carbs. You know,
Yeah.
maybe 1, 10. I don't know.
That's so cool that you've traveled so much and that you have tried so many different cuisines. That's really cool. Is there anything like any go-to snack currently that you like to have that works for you that may not be something that a nutritionist might recommend?
So I'm recently doing this, let me say this, which I didn't say, but I have shed nearly 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And it's been over a decade of doing that. And what gets me through is I do challenges for myself each
Yeah.
month. Like I just enroll in these like challenges. No one else joins me. So,
We're spearheading it.
exactly. Because I always find the benefit at the end of the challenge, even if it's just to say, I feel good about being able to do that. And I honestly could tell you, I would have never guessed when I started my healthier journey that I would be able to say that I have shed nearly 100 pounds. I honestly couldn't even think that would come out of my mouth. I just knew I wanted to be healthier and I didn't focus on weight.
Yeah.
So at the current moment, my challenge is making sure everything I eat has a nutritional value to it.
Yeah.
So I've recently analyzed my snacks, right?
Yeah.
And some of the things that I bought in the grocery store on the Nutri-Grain bar aisle or whatever. Yeah. So last week I took the time and I read the nutritional labels on almost all the bars on the aisle.
Oh, wow.
I was blown. So many of those things have no nutritional value. I was completely surprised. So my challenge now has completely revitalized my snacks in that sense. I just have to say I was really surprised. Some of the name brands that we're all used to hearing, they were not high in fiber. They were low in protein, all kinds of things. So my snacks now are the healthiest thing from that aisle that I could find that had nutritional value to it. And then I do enjoy apples, but I'm particular about my apples. It must be like a Fuji apple,
okay,
right? Or a Pink Lady. So I'm in that caliber of apples. I'm not Granny Smith. I'm not Gala apples. Yeah, so that's me. Which I have to say, I probably should have more knowledge of the glycemic index because I think those are like higher up because of the sweet content.
Yeah.
And over the journey, over this near decade, my palate has really changed for some things. So I used to like honey buns and like Cinnabons and that kind of thing. And when I give my workshops at home, so now you get a taste of me at home. This is how I tell people at home.
Yeah.
I used to love honey buns. When you put it in the microwave for like 30 seconds in the middle of it, just gets so good. Oh my goodness. That was like the best. But I don't eat that anymore. But you know what happens? I think on it and I say to myself, Phyllisa, you don't eat it anymore. But when you ate it, you sure enough ate it. So that's what I tell myself. I don't eat it anymore. But ooh, when I ate it, I sure enough ate it. See, that's how I talk when I'm at home with my people.
Yeah.
I have a healthier diet, but it wasn't, I didn't know that I would be where I am now. That's all I could say. I took very small steps. And over the course of now 12 years, I have kept off like 80 pounds. I was in the 90s, but then COVID happened and everybody gained weight. You know
yes.
But I'm riding close at 80. And I shed it. I haven't lost it because I'm not gonna go find it.
Yeah.
And so I still eat like home. Still love international foods, Asian food, Indian food, Chinese food. Somebody loves honey buns.
Yes, that's Mary, our marketing manager, shouting out the honey buns. Someone shouted out Fuji apples earlier.
Oh, yes. So,
that's amazing. I come from a family who is very food centric. We're definitely the type of people who live to eat, not eat to live. So something that I found really helpful in my health journey has been taking those foods that I love, like those honey buns, and trying to turn it into something, an alternative that's a little bit healthier. So, and that's so important for sustainability. I mean, like you say, you've kept it off for, you've kept 80 pounds off. That's a lot. That's a huge percentage. And that's because you're not depriving yourself of the things you love. You're just kind of adjusting your lifestyle a little bit to help you be healthy. So I love that.
Yep,
Well, I
and
do.
having greens every day.
Yeah.
Having some kind of green every day, whether it's a salad or kale. I am now making harabara kebabs because I love the sound of
Ooh.
it. I
It's
just
fun to say.
so I'll tell you, I went to an Indian restaurant, north or south, I'm not sure. So someone will have to tell me who makes these, north region or south region. And I was like, I've never been to the restaurant. What is good? And the guy was like, oh, you have to try harabara kebabs. And I was like, what's a harabara kebab? And so I ordered one just solely based on the name.
Yeah.
And it's actually a spinach patty. So
Oh, yeah.
I am making, it's in my refrigerator right now,
Yeah.
some harabara kebabs. But I love the name. That when he said we have harabara kebabs, I was like, I don't know what that is.
I'm
Hopefully
ordering
it's not
it.
curry frog and grasshoppers. But go ahead and get that for me.
Oh, that's
So,
funny.
yeah.
That's really good. Yeah, the good thing about ground foods is that you can hide a lot of nutritional things in there. It doesn't feel like you're eating greens, but you're definitely sneaking that nutritional value in there. So that's good. Well, oh, it looks like we have a question. For the people who have a hard time doing a longer trend, how do you stay motivated, Phyllisa?
I stay motivated by the challenges. I'm telling you, I don't look at a year. Like people are like 2021 is gonna be that year. I don't. I look at February. What am I
Yeah.
doing? February. For February, I've decided all of my snacks will have a nutritional value.
Yeah.
So that means any garbage, which I have a 5-year-old, so I have garbage in the house. Okay.
Oh.
So any garbage, I move to her bin where she knows where it is, and in mine, I don't have that. And so for March, because I'm also preparing for March now.
Yeah.
For March, my goal is to reduce my meat intake, just for personal reasons. I'm reducing my meat intake and increasing my vegetables every time I eat.
I love that.
So because I'm like hyper focused on like this week, this is what I'm doing, I'm not really thinking about the long term. It isn't until after maybe 3 years had gone by and realized that I was like losing a lot of weight. And I also want to go cycling. I bought a bicycle. I want to do that like 4 times a week. Just go. My daughter decided to kick her training wheels. She's like, I want to learn how to ride a bike. So
little 5-year-old queen.
so that's what I'm doing. So for me to stay motivated is to get through this goal and then create another one. And just so you know, I have to share a goal that I had that was so hard for me. That might be easy for other people. I have never done it again. I've never done this goal again. When I survived 2 weeks of not eating anything white, when I tell you I had a party, I celebrated because that was the hardest 2 weeks.
Bread,
No white
rice.
rice, no white bread, no white potatoes. Like, I have never done that challenge again because it was just that difficult for me. So that's my most difficult challenge I've done. And the one that started out as a challenge, but is now a way of life for me, is I started by eating my dinner on a saucer plate. So that like 7-inch plate.
Yeah.
That started as a 1-week challenge.
Yeah.
I was like, this week for dinner, I'm just going to eat it on this smaller plate. And then I liked the way I felt. Like I wasn't going to bed with a heavy stomach. So then I did it a second week. And honestly, now, like, it's something my husband picked up. I told you no one joins me on these challenges. But like he noticed that. And now our big plates, we only take them out for like guests or the holidays or something like that. So that has actually become a lifestyle for me, but it started off simply as a 1 week challenge.
Yeah. That's why those 1 week challenges are so cool, because you might find something that isn't that hard to put into your life. So if not eating white things is not something you ever want to do again, that's totally fine. There's another challenge that you could do that will still kind of help you better your health outcomes. So I love that a lot. Speaking of resources, as your brain is for all of us, we've partnered with you. You have a discount code with us. So if you're watching now, if you shop Genteel Plus, if you type in the code Black Diabetic Info, each word with a capital letter, you will get $5 off Genteel Plus. And then this weekend, so not today, but starting Friday and ending on the 28th, you will be able to shop our customer service bundle. So it's our customer services service manager's birthday this weekend. So we're celebrating her, and she actually helped design the stickers that come with the Genteel. So we thought we'd honor her and give everyone extra stickers and free shipping when they shop this weekend. So either deal is a great deal. The customer service bundle ends, but you will always be able to use code Black Diabetic Info to save on Genteel. Thank you so much, Phyllisa, for your time. And I really just want to continue seeing what you do. You inspire me every time I see you online. So, and I know that everyone else feels the same way here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, I'll be sharing this in a YouTube video. I'll record this. And so if anyone missed this, you'll be able to watch this again.
All right. Awesome. All right. Have a great day. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.